Rick Miller did the really badass stuff.
Darn, you ruined it for me.
So obviously, you know, you're like a huge superstar. You've heard of these "Hey Girl" memes that are going around the internet with you, right? Have you heard about these?
Yeah, I heard
And how there's like a book made of them. Has anybody ever bought you the book so you can see these things that live over Facebook?
I get the book all the time.
You do? And what do you think about the whole thing? Do you think it's ridiculous or do you have fun with it?
I feel like, do you remember when Fabio was on that roller coaster and he got hit in the face?
It was in Virginia, I was
With a
there.
pigeon?
Yeah.
He's been feeling a lot like that pigeon.
Really? It has been?
Just like a wrong place, wrong time.
Because you're
kind
like,
of thing.
yeah. But they are funny, and I mean, I think that it's interesting that you make people's, you know, that average person in Minnesota who's having a bad day, they feel that you're going to make them coffee in the morning.
No, they don't.
They do, I think so. I think they see it, they put on the notebook, then Blue Valentine, and then they're like, I'm going to spend my day with Ryan.
Oh, that's nice.
Did this film get the bank robbery urge out of your system?
I did, yeah. It did. I had a, you know, well, I'll tell you something that really soured the deal was when I finally am doing it and I'm on the counter and I turn around and everyone's smiling and filming me with their cell phones. And I realized that this is not like I thought it would be. And then Derek got mad at me because he said, "Look, they're having a good time. You know, you're not being scary enough." So he made me do 22 takes trying to scare them.
When you do the final bank robbery scene and you forget your glasses, like when you did the scenes with the glasses, did it kind of help to make it like more legit for you, more real feeling? And then did you all really feel more vulnerable without them even doing the scene?
Yeah, I did. I did feel like that's a good detail. I did feel that way. I also, that scene was different as well because, you know, Derek's plan was to shoot, even though in the film that they're cut up, but when we shot them, we shot all the bank robberies in one take. So I would ride in, they would film that, come in the bank with me, I'd rob it, then I'd come out, and then they'd film my exit. And in that particular one, when I robbed the bank, everything was supposed to go wrong. And then they had planned this like pretty like elaborate stunts sequence where I would drive into oncoming traffic after I'd robbed the bank, and I would have all these near misses with these cars. So at that point in the movie, when I'm realizing I don't have the sunglasses, I also know that I have to go in and rob this bank. I have to come out, and I have all of these near misses ahead of me, and it all is going to happen in the next 7 minutes.
Which he said you had to do like 22 times?
22 times.
Oh, man.
And Derek also, he casts real people. I mean, I'm sure they're probably real bank tellers. But does that make a difference when you get?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like in the case of the bank robbery, maybe it backfired a little bit because they were just having a good time. But in general, it really does, you know, it gives you they set the bar, you know, when you're working with people that are really from that environment. So all of us as actors have to try and kind of meet them on their level, which is very hard to do. They always end up, you know, beating us in the scenes.
Is it true that you spent some time with a guy who used to rob
banks? Mm-hmm.
How was it?
It was interesting. You know, it was intense. He'd done a lot of time and had just gotten out, so he was always checking the door, looking behind him, and he couldn't really believe that he was allowed to speak so openly about what he'd done, and that he was, you know, like 2 cops brought him in, and then he was just sort of talking in front of them about how he would do it, and it was a very surreal meeting. But it was interesting. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know.
What was most important for you to learn? Why or the feeling of robbing?
Well, just that I guess it's a part of the training in the banks that if someone even just asks for the money, you have to give it to them. So like all of the guns and the yelling and all of the theatrics are really not necessary. You really just, and I'm not advocating this or promoting this idea, but in theory, you could just go in and ask for it, and they would have to give it to you.
So you didn't have much interaction with Bradley Cooper in this film. What were your thoughts on the whole
second half of the movie with him and, you know, the 15-year time jump and everything. What were your thoughts when you first saw that?
I just loved the idea of this, the way that Derek was constructing the narrative. And I thought was really special about the movie was, first of all, he's the most stubborn person of all time. And everyone told him to cut it, to change it, not to do that. And no one thought it was a good idea. And everyone thought in the edit he would end up doing it anyway. And he has like stuck to his guns. But what I think is so great about it is that it has all of the conventions of a heist film, a crime thriller, a family drama, and yet he's deconstructed it and arranged it in a way so that you're able to have all of those things that you go to the movies for, but you're able to have an experience watching them that is different, which I admire him for doing, because I think that's probably hard to do in genres that are so well explored, you know.
Do you think you'll work with him in the future? Again?
We'll see if he has me back. I don't know.
Now, going back to the baby, how were his parents like? What, did they let you just kind of go off and just take the baby? Were
No.
they like, no? So you didn't play like offset with him or like build a relationship or anything with him?
No, his mom was always around,
Mhm.
and you know, she was great. You know, she wasn't like a stage mom.
Oh,
He had never done anything. They weren't from.
mm-hmm.
They just.
Film business. They were
I don't
just
know
right
how
on.
it kind of came to be,
Mhm.
but I think she was very, you know, rightfully so suspicious of the
Yeah.
movie people and what they were doing with her baby. And,
Were they cool about the ice cream?
yeah, they were cool. Yeah, but she thought about it too. She was like, I don't know if I want him having ice cream yet. And then she thought, okay, he can have ice cream. But she was a real good mom, and he's a great guy. Real easy to work with, you know.
Easier than Bradley.
Nice to the crew. He was real nice to the crew.
Okay, I'm sorry to get off topic, but I have to ask, because I love Jimmy Kimmel, how did that whole Knives segment come about with Will Ferrell?
It just, I got there and they were like, oh, you want to do this?
So you were already booked to be a guest, and then they just went with the skit?
Yeah, and I had no idea, but it was like Will Ferrell. I have always, it was nerve wracking for me because I'm such a huge fan and I've always wanted to work with him. And I thought, I'm not prepared for this.
It was awesome.
It was funny.
Which is your favorite late night show to do?
Well, I'd like, you know, they're all, I think, you know, Conan is just amazing, you know, I just such a fan. But I guess in Kimmel is great because he really takes time, you know. If I'm doing the show, like, we can work on something, or he also took me to meet Don Rickles, so.
That's cool. Yeah, you are funny. Would you ever think about doing like a pure comedy, like a Will Ferrell movie?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool.
Your last question?
Yeah, I thought after Knife Guys, he would be like, we gotta do something.
Yeah. Well, and then you were playing
I
with
still haven't got the call.
the first scene. You were playing with the knives. Was that really you playing with the butterfly knife in the first scene of the movie?
Yeah.
It is. Did you know how to do that, or did you take lessons?
I think I had learned how to do it when I was a kid.
Yeah, and just did it. It's cool.
Good Ava Mendez story.
Not that I'd like to share.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a nice day.
You too.
Too.
Okay.